What's up everyone? In this video, we will look at my second Hyrox race. We'll look at some of the things that went really well. We'll look into some of the mistakes I made. And we'll also look at some of the training that went into preparing for this race. My first Hyrox was a bit of a disappointment. I didn't get the time I wanted to. My goal was to get around an hour 30 and I ended up getting an hour 36. There were a few things that went wrong in that race. So I told myself that I will learn from my mistakes. I will go back to training, book another race, and God willing, perform better. So I spent around 5 months training for this race. What I didn't know yet was just how much better or how close this race would come to falling apart again. So stay till the end to see my finish time, as well as to see a lot more of the training that I did and also the gear that I used on race day. We arrived around 2 hours before my start time and we had a look around the stations. The venue was the same as my previous race. It was the London Excel Centre. We spent quite a bit of time familiarizing ourselves with the stations, where they all were. I spent some time looking at what the carpet was like and how the sleds were moving. And then I started warming up. Something that was different this time around was that the way Hyrox organized the running was really good. At most of the other Hyrox events, the running is usually a few laps around the track in order to complete one run and then enter the station. So what was different this time is that they actually booked out a huge space in the Excel Centre. And so you only had to run once in order to complete that lap. And so great work by the Hyrox team. We hope this is something that carries on in the future events. My strategy going into this race was quite simple. I wasn't going to rush. I wasn't going to try and sprint it. I did a little bit of that in my first Hyrox race and I learned my lesson. This time around, I was going to hold back and I was going to treat this race for what it is. It's not a sprint. And so I remember last time at the startup with all the music, the countdown, the people screaming and shouting and the smoke, everyone starts sprinting out, as soon as the countdown gets to 0. And so I told myself I wasn't going to do that and I stuck to that plan. So my first run was nice and comfortable. I kept to my strategy. I wanted to run my race. So the first station is the ski erg. I entered the station feeling really good. I had a plan. I wasn't going to sprint. I backed off the stroke rate and settled into a nice cadence that I practiced in training. What that looked like was a lot of effort initially, but then recovering through the rest of the stroke. The great thing about being on the station as opposed to last time was that as I got close to the kilometer, I didn't have any cramps. In my first race, this is exactly what ruined it for me. I started having cramps on that first station and I never really recovered from there. So it was a huge boost for me to finish this station with no cramps, with lots left in the tank and just ready to go and give this race my all. I was 12 seconds slower on the ski erg compared to my first race. A little bit about my training now. So as I was preparing for this race, I focused on having a very controlled pace. My technique was to focus on that initial pull, trying to maximize power at the start of the pull, and then using the rest of the stroke to recover. Lowering the stroke rate and deliberately not going all out would help to preserve energy. It would also allow me to feel fresh on that run that's coming up straight after the ski erg. In my first race, I remember my stroke rate was way too high and it ended up costing me. It probably was one of the many reasons as to why I ended up having cramps on that very first station. So leaving the ski erg and into run number 2, I felt great. I had a little bit of a strategy here. If you have watched my first Hyrox video, I had cramps in my first Hyrox race and they started very early on. And so my strategy going into this race was fueling up during the race. So on this second run, I pulled out one of the 2 carb gels that I'd carried on me and I started having it. So I entered station 2 feeling really good. with energy, no cramps, and ready to smash this. So station number 2 is the sled push. As I brace the sled with that forearm brace, that technique, which I practice in training that I'll tell you a little bit more about in a bit. The sled felt a lot easier than last time. I found the carpet to be really good as well. My race was on the first day of the Hyrox event, and it was quite early in the morning, and the sled seemed to move really well. I was feeling good. I arrived there without any cramps, which was positive. And on the sled push, my strategy here was also to continue preserving energy. I wasn't going to go all out. As I was pushing the sled, I would stop halfway through. Just before I felt like my quads were wrecked, I would hold back and I would stop, breathe for 5, 6, 7 seconds, and then push the sled again to the other end. On the final lap, I stopped twice to allow me to recover for the run that was coming up. Whatever I'd done in training really paid off here. I had a PB of 2 minutes and 7 seconds. So I was 2 minutes and 7 seconds faster than my first Hyrox. So that felt great. And I could tell that I was a lot quicker on this particular station than the first time I did it. So some of the training that went into preparing for the sled push, I was pushing weights that were a lot heavier than race day. So I was pushing the sled with 230, 240 kg. I would also have some days where I pushed lighter weights. I varied the intensity, the rest period, and also how far I was pushing the sled for. So all these things really helped me to improve and have a massive PB on my sled push. As I finished the sled push, I felt my quads feel extremely heavy. I had no cramps, and I think this is very normal for any athlete. The legs feel a bit heavy after the sled push. My run was a lot slower than my first 2 runs. So my strategy here on run 3 was to consume a little bit of the second carb gel that I had in my pocket. I got to the sled pull station feeling a little bit fatigued. My heart rate was okay, but my legs felt heavy. I got to my station and grabbed the rope and I almost fell. Something I forgot to practice in training was to remember that the rope at the Hyrox events are very different. They are very elastic. At the gym, we have a rope that is quite sturdy. As soon as you pull it, you feel very connected to the sled and you're able to pull. But the rope on race day was very different. So that threw me off for the next few pulls, and I had to really reach in order to remove the slackness from the rope and feel connected to the sled. I ended up making another mistake. That was me stepping onto the line. You're meant to stay within the box and not have any of your feet touch the line. And so I lost a bit of concentration. And as a result, I think one of my foot ended up being on the line. And the head judge was right behind me and he spotted that. And so he came and he rightly gave me a warning. And he said, if you do it again, you will get a penalty. So that kind of threw me off a little more. And I just had to focus on not stepping on that line. This is something I need to practice a lot more in training. I was still 37 seconds faster than my first race, but I know I can do a lot better. So some of the things I did in training for the sled pull was once again pull weights that were a lot heavier than race day, and again manipulate my training days so that there are days when I am pulling heavier for maybe a shorter distance and having slightly longer breaks between sets, and then on other days pulling weights that are closer to race day, but then reducing my rest periods and also how far I'm pulling the sled for. Run number 4 was a little better as I felt now my quads were recovering a little. They didn't feel as heavy as after the sled push. Station number 4 was the burpee broad jumps. I came into this station feeling confident. Here again, I had a strategy. I was going to use the technique that I practiced in training, and that was to use the knee up technique. In my first Hyrox, I tried to go way too fast and it didn't help. So coming into this race, I wanted to keep my heart rate low and I wanted to move smoothly. I do think I have a huge room for improvement on my burpee broad jumps, like with everything else. But I still managed to PB on this station compared to my first Hyrox. So I was over a minute faster than my first Hyrox. So quite pleased with that. So in my training, I performed a ton of burpee broad jumps at the gym, and at times even on a running track. I once did 400 meters burpee broad jumps. I don't know why I did that, but I did it. It wasn't fun, but we got it in. In my training, I would spend 3 days training. 1 day would be more focused on being explosive. I would also perform box jumps with a couple of dumbbells in my hand, and there were a few other things that I did as well, along with really homing in on my technique, the knee-up technique for this station. Moving on to run 5. Run 5 of the race was my slowest run yet. For the first time this race, I started cramping. I'd hoped I'd done whatever I could to try and prevent it. I reached in my pocket to find the carb gel, and unfortunately I had finished them all. This was my biggest mistake the entire race. So I slowed down even more and stopped for some water at the water station. I drank some and I poured some over my head, and I slowly jogged towards the next station. Station number 5 was the rower. My strategy going into this station was the same as the ski erg. I wasn't going to sprint. I wasn't going to have a really high stroke rate, and I was going to use this station to recover. And that's exactly what I did. I focused on a little more power as I pulled the handle towards my chest, and then used the remainder of the stroke as the handle returned to recover. I ended up being 13 seconds slower on this station compared to my first Hyrox race. That was a strategy. And so I started feeling quite good from an aerobic standpoint. My heart rate was coming down, but the issue I had was my quads. They started cramping up a lot more. So run number 6 was really slow. I ended up having to stop by the Red Bull station, have some Red Bull, and just hope that it would help take away some of the cramping. And so I jogged after that onto the next station. Station number 6 was farmer carries. I lifted up the kettlebells with crazy cramps, and I remember thinking, why does this not seem like a surprise? Well, this is because this is the exact feeling I had in my first Hyrox. I remember trying to chalk up my hands as I got near to this station. I was struggling to bend down to chalk up my hands because I was so much in pain from the cramps. And here I was again. But this time I told myself, I just have to fight through it. I just have to ignore it as if there are no cramps. Just grab the kettlebell and just power through the station. And somehow that's what I ended up doing. And so I ended up being 50 seconds faster on this station than my first Hyrox. I have no idea how I managed to do it with cramps, but that's what happened. And I'm glad I managed to push through it. So going into run number 7, my legs were just giving up on me. I had cramps now in my hamstrings and a little bit in my calves as well. I slowed down, and as I came back into the rock zone, I stopped again and grabbed another Red Bull before I got to station number 7. Station number 7 was walking lunges. This is one station that I like because it doesn't cause me any pain. I do have some issues in my knees. I have an ACL reconstruction done in my left knee, and I have some meniscus issues in my right knee. So I don't like squatting as much. When I get to a particular depth, I have quite a lot of pain. I have done lots of rehab work and the pain has reduced quite a bit, but I still have pain when I hit a particular depth. So lunges doesn't cause me any pain, and so I do them more often. So even though my legs felt like lead, I just had cramps in my quads, my hamstrings, in my calves. I was able to power through this station. I ended up being almost 2 minutes faster than my first Hyrox race. So really pleased with how that station went. Moving on to run number 8. It was the last run of the event. It was my slowest run, partly because I was fatigued and also partly because of all the cramps in my legs. I just had to somehow get through it. I slowly jogged to the Red Bull station again and sip on a couple Red Bulls and then make my way to the final station. So the last station was wall balls. I was so pleased that I managed to go through the remainder of the stations in spite of my cramping and still feeling like I was performing better than my first race. Wall balls, I did practice them a lot in training, but like I said, I have pain when I get to a particular depth. So this is something I'm working on and trying to improve upon to reduce the pain in my knees. The pain has reduced a lot compared to where it used to be, but reaching a depth that's acceptable for this station so that they count as a rep, I do need to try and squat as deep as I can. So that's always the goal. So I got into this station and I just went for it. I tried to get as many as I could in my first batch, and then I broke it down into smaller chunks. It wasn't my best station, but I still ended up being 22 seconds faster than my first Hyrox. So as soon as I finished the wall balls, I raced through to the finish line, and I was really pleased to see my time 12.5 minutes faster than my first Hyrox. It was a massive PB for me, especially to see that a lot of the training that I did translated well into my race. I plan to do a few more races, God willing, and see where we can take this. Something that I really want to focus on even more is to completely avoid cramping. I tried to prevent it with the carb gels, but it still seemed to appear halfway through in the race. So I do want to get to a point where I can get through the whole race and have no cramps. I think I'm a very salty sweater. I do lose quite a bit of sodium and electrolytes. If any of you have experienced this and have found things to be useful, please do drop it down in the comments. Something I haven't spoken much about in this video is running, and that's what we're coming to now. Running is one of the most important things in Hyrox. If you are a very good runner, you will naturally perform really well in Hyrox. Yes, there are stations, and yes, you do need to have strength to be able to push and pull the sled and perform the walking lunges and farmer carries and so on. But running covers the majority of the race. After each station, you have to run again. And there is just one of each station. And what I mean by that, there is just one ski erg, there is just one sled push and sled pull, but you constantly have to run. After the stations, you have to go back into a run. So running has to be a strong point. It has to be something that you really want to focus on in training. And so this is something I focused on in my training. I ended up being 6 minutes faster in my running compared to my previous Hyrox. This includes the rock zone and the total running. 6 minutes for some people might not seem like a lot, but for me, it was progress. And I do think that if I didn't have cramps, I could have done a little bit better. A little bit about my running training. I would have 4 days of running. Day 1 was a speed session. During this session, I would perform 6 to 8 sets of 800 meters at race pace or faster. The purpose of this session was to increase speed, VO2 max, and also the ability to surge. Day 2 was a tempo or threshold run. During this session, I would aim to run for around 20 to 40 minutes at a comfortably hard pace. The purpose of this session was to improve sustained race pace effort. Day 3 was compromised running, which is really important for Hyrox. On this day, I would run, perform a station, run, come back to another station, run again. So as an example, I would run for 400 meters and then push a heavy sled, then go back to running 400 meters, then perform a heavy sled pull, then go back to running 400 meters and perform walking lunges, and then rest and then repeat for a total of 3 to 4 times. So that's what my compromised running session would look like. The stations would not always be the same. I would work through all the different stations that we have in Hyrox. And so this teaches the body to practice running under fatigue. Day 4, the final session, would be an easy zone 2 run. So I would do this every Saturday. I would run for around 10 kilometers at a very easy conversational pace. And the purpose of this was to increase my aerobic capacity and to also help me with recovery. Okay guys, so to conclude this video, I'd like to speak a little bit about gear. I do think that this too played its part in helping me improve and perform well on race day. So firstly, shoes. These are the shoes that I used on race day. They are the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3 shoes, and they have a little carbon plate at the bottom. I do think they gave me a little bit of an edge with my running. Besides the shoes, I also use these compression sleeves for my knees and legs. These made a huge difference to my training and race day. Coming from someone who has knee issues, these keep my knees feeling compact and safe. They also cushion my knees when performing lunges and burpees, which is a plus. I also use these gloves. I know there are some people who aren't too keen on using gloves, but in this sport, we do want to use things that are allowed and that will give us a better grip, especially on the sleds, the sled pull, on the farmer carries, and so on. So rather than wasting time having to chalk up my hands, I use gloves. So that's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did like it, please do consider leaving a thumbs up, drop a comment. I plan to put out a lot more Hyrox related content on my channel as I learn new things and as I experience new things along my Hyrox journey. I plan to share that knowledge with you. So please do consider subscribing if you like such content. And until next time, God bless you, and I will see you in the next video.